Sam Darley here, and welcome to the show. I am your host, Sam Darley, and today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about the NBA All-Star Weekend. The festivities have started this weekend. The Houston Texans offseason is heating up with Tony Romo potentially heading to the Texans. Yeah, that's right. The Houston Texans are looking for a quarterback and need to get a quarterback in order to compete for the Super Bowl. Tony Romo is put the Texans on his wish list. They're number one, at least according to reports. And every Houston fan needs to get over the fact that he played for the Cowboys. Look, Tony Romo is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and if healthy, which is a bit of a question mark, the Houston Texans will be, with a healthy Romo, probably the favorite to come out the AFC. Oh, and let's just get one thing straight. The Houston Texans, and I repeat, the word not. I mean, the Houston Texans will not, and I emphasize not, trade J.J. Watt. They will not trade the most popular figure in their franchise since Andre Johnson, and I think he's a little bit more popular than Andre Johnson. They love the thought of Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt on the opposite ends on the defensive line. They do. To me, I just don't get what people are going with this on J.J. Watt. I mean, it's like the man is one of the best players in the league history. And it's really sad how Houston fans are all of a sudden, let's trade J.J. Watt. We were number one defense without him. Stop it. Stop. The Houston Texans are never going to trade Watt. They're not. J.J. is going to play at least, probably, I would say 2 or 3 more years, depending on his health. He's had the 2 back surgeries. I get it. He's had 2 back surgeries. But he's J.J. Watt. It's not like we're talking about Brock Osweiler here. We're talking about one of the best players in the league, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And yet people around Houston are talking about re-signing Bouye and trading Watt. It's just like, I'm sorry, am I missing something? Really, am I hearing things? Am I seeing things? Cut that stuff out. It's not happening. Yes, the Texans did re-sign A.J. Bouye, but, to me, you've got to get the quarterback. You've got to figure out the quarterback. Romo would be a short-term answer to a probably 2 or 3 year type deal. It's not going to be as big as Brock Osweiler's, and that's the only wrench in a Tony Romo deal for the Texans. Where did they go with Brock Osweiler? To me, if they're smart, they'll try and get him to take a pay cut. And if he's willing to take a pay cut, obviously get him to trim down that salary. It's about negotiating, and Osweiler's 26 years old, so he says 2 years to work on his game, 2 years to work on his mechanics and his fundamentals. But then again, he had 4 years of that in Denver, and he didn't do it. He didn't really improve. He still lacks in some key areas mechanically to be a legitimate franchise quarterback. Now, going into next season, obviously there's possibility of Jimmy Garoppolo being traded. First of all, in 2014, I thought the 2 quarterbacks that could be superstars out of the 2014 draft class, one of them became a superstar, and that's Derek Carr. But, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo would be a star if he was given the chance, and he's been given the opportunity to sit behind Brady, and I know he's sitting behind Brady. I know other quarterbacks like Hoyer and Mallett have come up from New England being starters and not being really good, and everybody goes, Garoppolo being the retreat quarterback from New England. He isn't. I had high hopes for him when he entered the 2014 draft. I think he has a great arm. He's accurate. He has a quick release. His footwork is a bit suspect, and reading defenses, a bit iffy. But things that a quarterback can work on, he's got all the physical tools to do it. In Ryan Mallett's case, Ryan Mallett had physical tools. He just never applied himself to the position. Bill O'Brien's looking for a football junkie. He's looking for a guy who eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Whether that's Garoppolo, whether that's Romo, I don't know. But I know one thing's for certain: if Houston got Tony Romo with that defense and Lamar Miller in the backfield, they're going to have a great chance to compete for the Super Bowl next season. So I guess it's a wait and see type thing, because Jerry Jones is so convinced that somebody's going to trade for Tony Romo's contract. It's not going to happen. He's going to have to cut Tony Romo, and it sucks for Dallas, but again, Tony may end up going to either Houston, Kansas City, or Denver, and having a legitimate shot to win a ring or two before he retires. And the reason I say those three teams is because the way I see it, he's looking for a Peyton Manning type situation, a place where he can go at the back end of his career and, have a legitimate chance to win a championship. And to me, Houston, KC, and Denver all are quarterbacks away, especially Houston and Denver. Those two teams right there are quarterbacks away from winning the Super Bowl. In fact, Denver won the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago with Peyton Manning. Even at Noodle Arm, he was still such a smart guy. He's still Peyton Manning, and they were able to get it done, and they won the Super Bowl. And then of course with Trevor Siemian, Siemian, while behind a battered offensive line, he had his moments, and I think Siemian hasn't really proved in his first year essentially that he could be the quarterback to lead the Broncos to the Super Bowl. But I do think he's a pretty good player. However, I do think he could be the long-term answer for the Denver Broncos. But this is John Elway we're talking about. Elway jumped from Tim Tebow to Peyton Manning. Of course, that's a huge jump. It's kind of like the Texans. The Broncos didn't have a quarterback, at least a long-term answer at quarterback. And what did they do? They got a stopgap quarterback, Peyton Manning. They gave themselves a chance to win a couple of championships. They went to a Super Bowl, got blown out, and then went to another one and won it. So really, I see Denver 2.0 with Houston in terms of Romo. Romo's not Peyton Manning, but he's been one of the best. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think Houston fans have just got to be absolutely out of this world insane. Romo's still got a good arm. He's still accurate. The question is, can you keep him upright? Will he stay in the pocket and play out of the pocket to try and extend his career for the 2 or 3 more years that he is hoping to play? So, he's not Mr. Scrambler like he was early in his career, but that's part of the reason why he's gotten injured the last 2 years. But he was third in MVP just 3 years ago. You don't lose that ability to play in just 3 years. So I guess we'll see what happens. But yes, NBA All-Star Weekend is this weekend. The Houston Rockets enter the break third in the Western Conference. It's a huge jump from last year. They've already gone above the win total from last season. They're going to go way above it, but they're not a contender. They're still getting killed on the glass. They're still getting killed on the bench. Anderson and Gordon, they cannot stay healthy. I don't trust their health. I don't trust their defense. There's just so much to not like about the Rockets going into the playoffs. And I certainly don't like the matchup with Memphis or Utah. Whoever gets... Right now, I think it's Oklahoma City in the 6th spot. I know the last time I checked, which was yesterday, was Memphis. I know a lot has changed. It's the Western Conference. Things change quickly. But I know Houston does not match up with Memphis. I could see them taking Oklahoma City out in 5 or 6 games. That is, if playoff Harden disappears. James Harden has averaged only 17 points a game. His turnovers are up. His shooting percentage is down. His turnovers are up. And his free throw attempts a game are down in the playoffs. There's no Dwight Howard to bail him out this year. There's no second option for the Rockets. And maybe they'll go get one at the deadline. Excuse me. I know they've been eyeing big men, and they've been looking at possibly trying to get another superstar next to James Harden. Maybe Carmelo Anthony waives his no-trade clause to come to the Rockets. I don't think that's a move that would put Houston over the top, but it's a move that would make the Rockets a little bit better. And I do think Melo gives Houston a puncher's chance of beating Golden State because it adds more offensive punch, but they still need a defensive presence in the paint. Capella is still just too wiry. He's too thin, and I don't care what you say. He's not a post presence. He's not a paint presence to where you feel intimidated, where you don't want to go in the paint. Okay, the man is he's a heck of a young player. But if I could get a DeAndre Jordan for Clint Capella and a couple of picks, I'm doing it. I am. I'm doing it because the way I see it is the Clippers are rebuild and the Rockets are, a couple of pieces away from beating Golden State. They are. I mean, they've got James Harden. They just don't have enough offensive. They just don't have enough defensive punch, as well as they could use another offensive scorer. When you get into a 7-game series, there's a difference between 82 games and 7 games with one team. You're trying to win 4 times against that same team. They know your moves. They know your moves. You know them. It's just there's just no secret about it. It's about coaching and adjustments, and it's all about strategy. And the best chess players are usually the best coaches, and those are the coaches that come out and put their teams in position to win a championship. Can Mike D'Antoni get the Rockets past San Antonio, Memphis, Utah, and Golden State? Those are the teams that I think are better than them, and those are the teams they're probably going to have to go through to win the Western Conference. So I guess we'll see. Astros have started off-season workouts, spring training workouts, and no, they're not a World Series contender. They don't have enough pitching. Their starting pitching rotation is very questionable. Is Keuchel healthy? Will he return to form in 2017? Will guys like Musgrove and Paulino take a step up in their development? And will Lance McCullers stay healthy? And then you got the bullpen, which had 12 blown saves. And, really the only move they made in the bullpen was they let go of Pat Neshek. So, and then they added Carlos Beltran, who's 40, and they've added Brian McCann, who's almost 40, and they're calling those upgrades. I don't think the Astros had a good enough offseason to win a World Series, but they had a good enough offseason to win the AL West. And I think if they don't win the West, then I think it's time to look again at A.J. Hinch, because I'm not a fan of A.J., and I've never been a fan of A.J., and I think he needs to do better than 84 to 85 wins, and be better than getting knocked out in 5 games in the division series. The Astros have a huge window to win, in my opinion, but they've got to keep guys like George Springer, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman. They gotta find a way to keep all of those guys. And Houston is a tough team to figure out because I think their offense is going to be pretty good. But again, I think they downgraded at catcher. I think McCann is too old. I think he's done. There is a reason for everything, guys. Okay? There's a reason the Yankees moved on from Brian McCann to Gary Sanchez. Because Gary Sanchez is young, he plays better defense, and he still hits the ball. He is not McCann is not the player he used to be. He's just not. It's 162 games. Can McCann and Beltran hold up? And can that bullpen not be as suspect as it has been the last couple of years? Or a year and a half, excuse me. And then the rotation. A lot of questions need to be answered for the Astros to get to the World Series, but I definitely think they're a threat. But I guess we'll just have to find out. Baseball it's a tough game to predict. It really is. So, it's just anybody's guess, really, if you think the Astros are a contender. I mean, it's your opinion, but I don't think they're a contender. But, baseball season is a couple months away, and I still think the biggest improvement to the game should be shortening the season. There's no way Major League Baseball should have their season run through the middle of football. There's no reason for it. In fact, the World Series probably doesn't start this year until towards the end of October. So, yeah. It's just time to cut the season down. And yes, I think they should put the DH at both leagues. It's fun to not watch a pitcher not try to hit. It really is. It's embarrassing to watch professional pitchers who cannot hit. So, but I guess we'll see what happens. This has been Sam Darley. Thank you for listening.